What's up team, how's it going? Welcome to our newest video. I'm Craig, a former British soldier, and we are looking at, is China's new fighter jet, the J-35, invincible, and how similar is it to the US F-35? Please do comment below with what your thoughts are on this. You can check out the original video in the description, but before we get started, if you could head over to combatreadyhq.co.uk and check out some of our new merch and our coffee blends. We've just released some new t-shirts, mugs and patches as well. I'm wearing the Winged Reaper in military green. But other than that, let's get into it.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace and their new design intelligence. The F-35 is the latest Chinese 5th gen fighter. Wait, hold on, that's not right. That's not the F-35 at all. Let me restart. A new 5th gen carrier-based fighter has entered the market under the designation J-35, and it's the future of the Chinese Navy. Made to operate from the new Type 0003 carriers as a multi-role fighter, the J-35 wants to dominate the South China Sea and further increase the threat against American fleets in the region. So today, let's look into the development and the history of the Chinese answer to the F-35 and answer the lingering question. Is it just a ripoff, or is it any good? Hey gang, we're on a mission to get to 1 million subscribers, so if you haven't already, become a sub and join the Found and Explained army. China entered the 5th gen aircraft game over a decade ago with an aircraft called the J-20. In the beginning, it was ridiculed in the media by both the West and Russia. But then the J-20 prototype had its first flight in 2011. And just a year later, another plane followed under the designation FC-31. Unlike the J-20, which was sort of a unique design, combining the characteristics of the F-22 and European Delta Wing Canard configurations, the FC-31 was much less innovative and more of a copycat in its design, resembling a love child of the F-22 and the F-35. The media didn't give too much space to this jet as it was just a prototype and it soon went into hiding, apparently losing the JXX program competition to Chengdu and their J-20. But this was not the whole truth. Let's grab some tinfoil and get down to it. You see, China has two major aircraft development companies, Chengdu and Shenyang. Both were competing starting from the 90s onwards for a job to build a new Chinese 5th gen fighter under the JXX program. Historically speaking, Chengdu was responsible for more original designs in the People's Liberation Army Air Force, and Shenyang did licensing of friendly nations jets, and copycat designs of, let's say, less friendly nations. So in recent years, they're basically the ones behind the J-11 family, basically a license of the Su-27 and their descendants, the J-15 and 16, while Chengdu developed the J-10 and J-20, which are both original designs. Well, kind of. This information will be important throughout the story, so let me lay it all out. In 2008, Chinese hackers breached into the Joint Strike Fighter program in America and stole thousands of documents regarding the development of the F-35 stealth fighter. Darn it. A lot of these were incorporated into future aircraft like the AOTS style integrated targeting system, the canopy and front section, and the DSI intakes, but more on that later. Chengdu with
It's mad that hackers can actually hack into such a secure network and take such secure and secret information. That's why we've all got to be careful out there. But whether they actually got the whole sort of information about the F-35, you don't actually know. But yeah, it's worrying what hackers can actually do nowadays.
The J-20 obviously won the contract and went into serial production. But the FC-31 wasn't dead.
Just look at that, you can tell it looks like an F-35.
And recently, it got a big upgrade. The Chinese, through various means, and I really do mean various, have managed to create a new fighter jet that might just match the stealth capabilities of the various Western powers. Now, I'm going to get into just that point in a moment, but there is a lesson here. Last year, the first photos of a completely new aircraft named the J-35 leaked from China. Leaked meaning the Chinese probably purposely showed them because at this point they wanted the US to know what they were developing. And it's the biggest slap in the face. The new J-35 is significantly different from the original FC-31 design and significantly similar to the F-35. The design similarities were uncanny, starting with the whole front section that was ripped straight off the F-35. But they didn't stop there. They also took the vertical stabilizers, as well as the enlarged wing design and horizontal stabilizers from the Navy F-35C. The J-35 also has IRST and other targeting equipment integrated on the same spot as the F-35.
If you looked at them from the front, you actually would struggle, obviously if it was moving at speeds, to sort of tell the difference between them unless you're a proper plane spotter or you're in the military and your job role is to do with sort of fighter jets, fast air attacks, etc. You really would struggle to tell the difference. Obviously they're slightly different, but they are very, very similar. Obviously you can see the difference within the engines, which I'm sure they're going to cover in a bit. But they have actually stolen the front off it. But hey, look, if you want to win and you're struggling and you're able to hack in and steal the information, then you know that's warfare for you. Like, war isn't fair.
And in the same indium oxide covered housing. The new jet also has new engines. Unlike the first prototype, powered by a variant of the Russian RD-33 engines from the MiG-29, the J-35 has indigenous WS-13 engines with serrated nozzles to improve the stealth capability. Plus, there are no visible outer weapon mounting spots like on the Korean KF-21, so we can assume that all the weapons are stored internally, making this truly a 5th-gen aircraft with stealth in mind. And there are also some other interesting details to note as well. It features a one-piece canopy open frontally on a latch just like the F-35, and the pilot seat is tilted backwards to improve high-G maneuverability for the pilot. The wings are collapsible, further cementing the role of a naval aircraft, and this is a good foundation for the rest of the story, where this aircraft will be used.
The question is, with the way technology is going, there's only so many sort of advancements and looks that you can go with. Obviously, you can tell that they've taken a lot from the F-35. But if you're trying to build a stealth fighter, a 5th-gen fighter, and someone's obviously absolutely nailed it and smashed it, and you've got the capability to sort of copy it, then you're most probably going to. Not saying what they've done is right, whether it's up to the same standards, but pieces of kit and equipment can only go so far, can only look so different. And if they've absolutely nailed it on the head with the F-35, which we know it's one of the best stealth fighter jets out there, then you can't go too far off with angles, shapes and design.
The Chinese lately are very keen to build a strong navy, knowing that in case of a conflict, if the US does close their access to the Pacific Ocean, their economy is in big trouble, and the Chinese Navy is the only one capable of preventing this event, spearheaded by their new aircraft carriers. From 0 to 3 carriers in just over a decade, they have surpassed even the Soviet Union. Damn, that's impressive. And this is important for our J-35s as well. The growing threat of war over Taiwan and the Chinese influence in the region has made tensions between them and the US higher than ever before. China is not just a second-hand army anymore using ex-Soviet weapons. This threat is real, and the deployment of US forces in the region and development of this new technology is proof of this.
And you can see why they're doing it. The US has the largest and best navy in the world. There's no doubt about that. It is by far the best. With a lot, like you said, going on between China and Taiwan, China allies with Russia, with the Pacific Ocean, the US could easily go in there and dominate, okay, and sort of take over the waters and really have massive disruptions to imports and exports in and out of China. So if you can rival that, they've got the manpower, they've got the personnel, and they've got the money to build a large navy, which I'm surprised they haven't done already, then they're going to. Because at the minute, no one even comes close to the US. So if they can rival that and maintain their waters, maintain their imports and exports, then that's massive for their economy if any war does kick off.
Chinese have already made their own Navy fighter, the J-15, a copy of the Soviet Su-33 with improved electronics, which would be used on its Type 001 and 002 carriers that have ski jumps, just like the Soviet Kuznetsov carriers, which they have based their development on. But this new carrier, the 003, is technologically much superior and will be fitted with an electromagnetic catapult, just like the Gerald Ford class carriers in the US Navy. Again, China moving up from Soviet technology. China wants to equip its new carrier with stealth multi-role fighters, and this is exactly the role that the J-35 is aiming to fulfill. Speaking of this role, the J-35 will be supplementing the J-20 fleet as well, because the J-20, as we mentioned in our video dedicated to this jet, is primarily a large interceptor and an air dominance fighter like the Raptor. And the J-35, on the other hand, looks more towards the role of a multi-role fighter with a specialization in SEAD, air-to-ground, or naval operations. So it's time for the big question. How would the J-35 actually size up against the F-35 in combat? What is its real capability? In terms of electronics and aircraft weaponry, the Chinese have done a lot in the last decade. We've got to give credit where credit is due. All of the latest aircraft are equipped with AESA radars, including the J-20 of course, and the J-35 won't be an exception. It's rumoured that KLJ-7A is stated as a new radar, which is very interesting because just like the Russian N036 in the Su-57, this radar has a two-side mounted antennas, giving the plane much better coverage than the standard frontal 120 degrees. Its projected range is around 200 kilometers, which is less than the AN/APG-83 on the F-35, but everything else, like the SAR resolution and LPI capability, is just pure speculation because we just don't have the information available. Come on, America, hack their database so we can add it to a video. But air-to-air capability of this fighter is quite interesting. China has developed a new medium to long-range missile like the PL-12 and PL-15, and while the PL-12s are outmatched by the latest AMRAAM variants, the PL-15s are actually superior in range to AMRAAMs.
So as you can see, they really are trying to step up their game. They're really trying to get not just land, sea, but also air dominance. You know, we all know that China wants to become the number one superpower in the world, and this really shows that they are trying to do that.
This is one of the reasons why the US Air Force is currently developing the new AIM-260 JATM that will be able to outperform the new Chinese missiles. The People's Liberation Army Air Force has a huge variety of laser and satellite guided ordnance today, and as we mentioned, the J-35 has integrated EOTS, giving it the capability to have a completely stealthed out multi-role layout. The stealth performance of this aircraft is also just a big question mark because we can't say anything with any amount of certainty, but it does feature stealth coatings, serrated nozzles and hatches, as well as an S-shaped air duct, so it's definitely in the range of low observable. Chinese engineers have also been stating that the J-35 is designed in a way to optimize low observability even in the L and KU bands, which is one of the issues that the F-35 has. Wouldn't it be funny if the Chinese got around this problem? However, the actual game changer for this new jet could be the brand new PL-21 missiles with that 300km range, which the J-35 should apparently carry, just like the J-20. But again, this is all speculation for now. Whatever the case, one thing is for certain, this jet is still just a prototype. And we have, on the other hand, over 1,000 F-35s built so far. So, to put it simply, it's no match for the F-35 in reality. At least for now. The Chinese are dead serious about their 5th gen program, and the J-20 is seeing massive productions with 210 in service and the production capability of 100 to 120 airframes per year, which would bring the number to over 1,000 by 2030. We know that they obviously can mass produce 5th gen aircraft, and even if it's inferior to its Western counterparts, this is a big red alarm because countering a threat this big wouldn't be easy. The Chinese can just outproduce us. So what do you think? Is the J-35 going to stay just a prototype and another made in China joke? Or is it possible a serious F-35 competitor is now on the battlefield? Let me know down in the comments, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll meet you soon in the next Found and Explained episode.
So I think it is a real possibility that they are going to make this. We know that they want to be the number one superpower in the world. We know that they want to enhance, increase and strengthen their defences, whether it's land, air and sea. If you want to be the number one superpower in the world, it's not just financially with your economy. You need to do it with your defence as well, especially with everything that's going on between China and Taiwan. And there's a huge chance that they will invade Taiwan in the next few years, if not the next 5 years. Obviously, the US back in Taiwan. And they do have the capability of pure mass production. They could easily outproduce any country in the world, whether they can financially and those aircraft be at a high enough quality. They've got the manpower to man them, but do they have the finance to produce them to a high enough quality and keep them serviceable? It's a big one across all nations. Can you keep your aircraft kit and equipment hardware serviceable? The other thing is I would like to know is they've obviously copied a lot from the F-35, very similar fronts, radars, integrated munitions holds. They're obviously going for a mass stealth capability, but why have they gone for a twin engine, not a single engine? I don't know too much about engines. Would twins engine not be heavier unless obviously you had two smaller engines? Is it because they can't produce a good enough single engine and not a powerful enough single engine? Do they just feel a twin engine is more superior? If you know the answer to that, please comment below. Would a twin engine be harder to service and maintain? Possibly. But it's a real threat. There's always threats out there. You know, they've got 3 aircraft carriers in the last few years, but the US have 11. They've got a couple of hundred J-20s, but the US have got over 1,000 F-35s. Yes, they may be able to produce 100, 200 a year, but it's still going to take time for that to come on. In the meantime, the US can still produce. So whether they will be able to ever equal the US, because the US are already at such high numbers, they're already there. They invest the most into their defence each year. The US invest over £800 billion into their defence each year. I don't know what the China defence budget is, but I don't think it's anywhere even close to that. I think the USA are miles ahead, and I don't think they have the economy to invest that much. But I could be wrong. Please comment below. But like I said earlier in the video, if the US have made one of the best, if not the best, multi-role fighter, stealth fighter jets in the world, and you've managed to hack in and copy, then you go to, like I said, war is not fair. It's all about just trying to get one up on each other, and that's what they're constantly always trying to do. So I think the J-35 will come about. I think it's going to take a very long time until it's fully operational, until they can mass produce. Once they mass produce, can they do it at high enough quality? I don't think so. Can they maintain it and keep it serviceable? Maybe not. It's really, really hard. It's really expensive, along with trying to build aircraft carriers, destroyers, armoured vehicles, kit and equipment for your personnel. To maintain a really large force is very, very expensive and extremely hard. So, but yeah, really interesting video. Go and check out the original video in the description. Let us know what you think my thoughts are and what you thought of the video. Remember to head over to combatreadyhq.co.uk, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.